Live from Darfeezy Studios in Eddyville, Kentucky, it's time for Darfeezy's TV recap. Tonight, Crisis on Infinite Earths finishes. What happened to our Arrowverse? What happened to our heroes? Well, let's find out. Also, I started watching Star Trek Discovery more, and Deku goes 100%. What did I think about this episode? Your host, Darfeezy. Hello, Easy Nation, and welcome to another episode of Darfeezy's TV recap. This is, I guess, episode 3 of the show, and, I've enjoyed doing this podcast. It's one of the reasons why I do all these TV shows and why I get it out to you. So, yeah, let's get right into talking about this week that happened in TV. Alright, first let's talk about Doctor Who, Season 12, Episode 3, Orphan 55. So this was not my favorite episode of the season so far. This is only the 3rd episode of Season 12. But I really liked this episode because it was a cool little sci-fi episode. And that's what Doctor Who can really be. So the whole premise of this episode is Graham, he gets coupons to this Orphan 55 planet, which basically is a resort holiday planet that all these humans are basically that they go to, and it's a cool paradise. But guess what? Something goes wrong. Imagine that. I like this episode because what I liked about this episode was about what it says about humanity and what us as humans have to do if we want to keep living on this earth, because we find we later go onto this world and we see like these creatures. They're kind of like what I call these people. They're kind of like Deathclaws from Fallout, just more humanoid. And this was like a cool little like Fallout from like the video games. So I love the Earth, and it's like a Fallout world. But make it find out that this isn't just some hostile, desolate world that no one's ever heard of. No, this was Earth. And it's one thing I really liked about this episode. It's like, we kill ourselves. It's the thing like from the original Planet of the Apes and all this stuff. I think this was a cool episode because it makes us look at ourselves and you're like, yeah, we're going to maybe one day kill ourselves. Especially with what's going on in the news lately with Trump and Iran. But yeah, I love this. I thought this episode was really good. It's not my favorite episode, but I will say I did really enjoy this episode. So let's move on to Shark Tank, Season 11, Episode 11. This was an enjoyable episode. There were some things that was pretty stupid but funny, like the sex button where if two couples are together, and there was a button that push if they want to have sex tonight, and that was something. And then I like the couple selling the lotion was good, especially when they talk about royalty, because they're trying to get that lotion deal, and Kevin O'Leary was just like, I don't know, I don't think I really want to buy this. And then he's just like, they're like, well, how about a royalty? He's like, royalty? I think I love you. So overall, enjoyable episode of Shark Tank. I have to say it was a good episode. So let's move on to I'm just going to talk about these 2 episodes together because this is the theme of the week, and that is we have Arrow, Season 8, Episode 8, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 4, and I'll talk about Part 5 in a minute, but first let's talk about Part 4. So basically, the episode starts off with our heroes are at the Vanishing Point. The Vanishing Point in Legends of Tomorrow was a place at the end of time where basically nothing can really be touched or destroyed. And it was a former home of the Time Lord, or not the Time Lords, the wrong sci-fi time travel show, the Time Masters, Time Lords, Time Masters. What's the difference, really? What I liked about this episode was I liked the Crisis. I really did like the first 3 parts of the Crisis. You can check out my full review of all 5 Crisis on my YouTube channel on Tuesday. I always gotta plug my YouTube channel because it's just what I do, right? But what I really enjoyed about this episode was it turned the show back to small, because the first 3 parts of the Crisis, there was just so much thrown at the wall. I like Part 4 was probably one of my favorite parts of the episode, was because it was small and we got to see Oliver back as this Spectre. He's become something else. Something. else. And there that moment at the end whenever he's fighting the anti-monitor and he's like, you have failed this universe. I mean, come on. I mean, I love they did that. And they finished Oliver's story with both Barry and Sarah Lance, and I really like that. I'm curious what the hell they're going to do for the finale, because the next episode, it's there to set up the Green Arrow and the Canary show. So we'll see if that actually becomes a thing. But let's talk about the final episode of The Crisis, and that is DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 5, Episode 1, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 5. This was the season premiere of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Not really, because next week we're really going to get our pilot, our first episode of the season. And what I liked about this episode was, so at the end of last episode, our Paragons have they've created a whole new timeline and a whole new Earth. They've recreated the universe. But guess what happens whenever they recreate the universe? Things change. Like, there's some really small changes that was kind of cool. Like, you have Lex Luthor. He's a good guy in this new universe. Also, Supergirl and the Flash. Basically, all our superheroes from the CW are all on the same Earth now. I thought that was pretty cool. So that was really cool, and I like how it ends with the Anti-Monitor's back, and basically all the heroes from this world are fighting them off, and they're all like, instead of like, in Avengers Endgame, it was whatever it takes. This one's for Oliver. For Oliver! And Oliver's sacrifice is I kind of compare it to Avengers Endgame with them losing with Black Widow, but I think this actually means more because Black Widow really didn't mean shit to the Marvel Universe, where Oliver kind of means a lot to the Arrowverse. I mean, I've seen comments about it all the time. This all began with a shipwrecking. And it was a cool episode. And I love how it ends with kind of the formation of the Justice League. You see the Hall of Justice, all the chairs. I really enjoyed this crossover. And yeah, I'm ready to watch more CW shows as weeks go along. So yeah, that was my Crisis on Infinite Earths breakdown. So now let's move on to Young Sheldon, Season 3, Episode 12, Body Glitter and a Mall Safety Kit. So this episode, we bring back McKenna Grace as Paige. I like her. I mean, I think she's very talented. Everything I've ever seen her in, I thought she was great. I like how this one, they're taking the thing from her parents being divorced, and it's also taking the cue from Sheldon's life, where if anyone was ever upset, he would bring them a hot beverage, and it was not optional. And we kind of get to see the origins of that. I thought that was pretty cool. So, and then also the funniest line of the episode was when the black coach, he's playing golf, and he's like, listen, George, I just want to make white people feel uncomfortable. I should have laughed as hard as I did, but I thought it was a funny joke. Alright, let's move on to My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 13. Infinite 100%. So this episode we're seeing Deku fighting. We're finishing the fight between him and Overhaul, and holy crap, what a good fight this was. It's not my favorite fight of the series. My favorite fight is still All Might versus One for All, but he grabs Aerie, and Aerie is basically activating her mutation quirk thing, and it's basically healing Deku. And what it allows Deku to do is to use 100% of his power without worrying about hurting his body. So I thought that was very, very cool. And we get to see how powerful Deku really is, because overall, he is a hard villain. I mean, a lot of heroes would probably have a hard time with him, but not the heir to One for All. And it just shows how powerful Deku can actually become. I mean, we saw it with All Might, even with him in his damaged state. But yeah, he defeats Overhaul pretty damn easily, and it was pretty cool to watch. And yeah, this was a cool little episode I really, really did enjoy. And yeah, this has been a good season. I'm curious the repercussions of this story. I like what's going to happen to Lemillion, what's going to happen to some of the other characters. But overall, I really did enjoy this episode of My Hero Academia. And now it's time to move on to the show that I am streaming right now. So, last week I talked about the first episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2. And now we're talking about Seasons 2, Episodes 2 through 8. So, I'm almost done with the show. I should have finished this week, but I'm not going to guarantee that, because I've been going back and watching episodes of Star Trek Next Generation to get ready for Star Trek Picard next week. So I just want to get that done before I continue this Star Trek Discovery. I'm loving this season. I think this season is good. And what I love about this season was I wasn't the biggest fan of the first season of Star Trek Discovery. But what I like about this season, it feels very Star Trek. I mean, the last episode I watched, which was the episode which connects to the original pilot of Star Trek with Captain Pike. I thought the episode was pretty cool, and how he goes there to heal, and that you really understand. We get to see the relationship between Michael and Spock, and I think it's a great relationship. And Michael wants to do anything to repair and heal that relationship, and I'm loving Pike. I mean, I could totally see if they wanted to do another Star Trek spinoff. I almost said Star Wars. But if they wanted to do another spinoff, Pike, while he was the captain of the Enterprise, and bring the guy, because I like the guy who plays Spock. I think he does a pretty good job playing a younger Spock. Also, I really like what they're doing with the Saru character. I mean, the episode where he thought he was dying, but it was really just him. It was just maturity. And then the ending was great. With his, when he goes to his home planet, and I thought that stuff was really, really cool as well. Overall, I am really enjoying this season. I'm ready to finish it up either this week or next week. I'll talk about when I get to the finale, and hopefully I like the finale. And yeah, I mean, I've been in such a Star Trek mood. I've been watching episodes of Next Generation, which, you know, it's a show I've never really watched, but I've watched the Star Trek Next Generation movies, but I felt like I need to watch some key episodes. So what I've been doing is there's a site on StarTrek.com that has a guide of episodes you should watch for Star Trek Next Generation. And that's the episodes I've been watching to get ready for Picard. And you know what? Maybe when I'm done, I might go back and watch all the Star Trek shows. It might be a great undertaking I do this summer. But I will say I've enjoyed everything I've watched of Star Trek Discovery and Next Generation so far. So guys, that ends another episode of Darth Easy TV Recap. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have unfortunately killed Darth Easy Sports Talk. It was just too much to do. 2 podcasts is about the max I could do. And I love podcasting. If I had more free time, I would do another one. But like I said, I don't have as much free time as I wish I had. And I do enjoy doing these podcasts. I love talking about TV shows because I like doing these TV recaps. I liked it when I was doing the video format. There was just so many shows that I watched that I just don't have time to do all the podcasting that I was doing and video it. And so guys, make sure you click this like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do movie reviews. I do TV reviews. I do some other stuff. I have 2 podcasts. It's this Darth Easy's TV Talk. And I also have my Easy K show with Rainy Cage. We talk about random topics every week. This week's episode might be a little delayed due to some work situation, but it will probably be out sometime. But we'll be talking about the movie news, what came out in the Oscar times and everything. So guys, until next week, all too easy.